Greetings YouTube, this is Jared with Omnivore Bladeworks. I was really impressed today with the sharpening that I did on this baby crow dagger. This is a handle-on version of this dagger. This one's just full tang. This one is a tapered tang. You can maybe barely see it in here. I don't know. But micarta scales, stainless steel tubing for rivets. And I guess it's called a Hanzakuri grind, where you take the bevel and you take it all the way down to nothing, and then you sharpen it, and you end up getting a really sharp blade. For a 1/4 inch thick dagger, it's pretty impressive. There may be one little spot on there that needs to be attended to, but overall I'm pretty happy. So, baby crow, original version. Here's the new version. Same size blade. This is hollow ground. Starts as a blank that looks like this. And the handle I'm not sure about yet, but because I have a 3D printer, I'm going to be prototyping a handle that will just slip right in, and a guard that will slip on too. So it'll probably get a steel guard, or maybe not. Probably won't get a steel guard actually on the baby crow, but this raven will get a guard. And then I'll be machining some CNC machined micarta grips for the raven. This is also hollow ground, and it'll have the same sharpness as this particular baby crow, except it's hollow ground, so it'll be a little different in the way it cuts through things. Also have a handle that I prototyped with a D-guard, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that, but it'll be interesting to do some joinery with sheet steel, or plate steel, and micarta. So we'll see how that goes. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these Raven daggers in 1095 that are all ready to be heat treated. So I just need to figure out handles, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. I guess on a similar note, the reason that I'm doing that is because these, and the reason I'm grinding them so thin is because this old or prototype dagger that I made, this is flat ground. You can see the point geometry is almost identical. I threw the absolute piss out of this knife in my right hand, and the only thing that happened was the point bent. So if that doesn't attest to the toughness of Austempered 1095, I don't know what does. Of course, that's an extreme use for such a fine knife, so I don't plan on saying that this is a throwing knife, but I'd much rather have a tip bend over like that instead of breaking. I was really impressed when I was trying to destroy this thing. I've been working the last week. Actually, real quick, here's the sheath for the baby crow dagger. This is a weird custom one my dad was working on, which he never finished, but it's got some red and black linen micarta grips on it. It needs to be epoxied together and finished. Okay, so new designs for 2015. This is the Special Forces chef's knife, maybe called the Ranger chef's knife, and it's got a lot of different grip options where you can hold it, but you'll get the idea. And basically it's a 10-inch chef's knife, and it'll be, the first prototype I'm going to make will be 1095, just so I can figure out the form factor and maybe make a sheath jig, and then the rest of them will be AEBL and a thinner gauge and maybe some 3V. A customer who wanted a repeat of the Horus weird short sword. This is the new profile. It's going to share the handle with my Bowie knife that I call Jim. It's part of the Sapien series, which is yet to be really advertised at all. And it'll also share the same handle with the new revision to the regular murder sword. So you can see that I've got a little pointy pommel back here as opposed to the coffin handle on the previous one. I may or may not do the skeletonized hilts on this particular sword, and then option will be to have these little pokey guards on the hilts. Other than that, the murder will be exactly the same. I'll make probably 4 in this batch of 1095. Then on the Tanuki side of things, the Japanese side of things, we've got I've got a friend who's helping me with form factor of making more authentic styled or shaped wakizashi and katana. So these are just a couple of models that I've been, ooh, that's a little big, I've been playing with to see, so he can help me figure out the form factor. So that's that. Now we'll move on to the grinding room and see if I can get in there without tripping up too much. Taking a ride on the tripod. Already 6 minutes. Okay, so here's the form factor prototype on the wakizashi sized thing. I already had some blanks cut out, so here you can see the curvature of the point. It's kind of fine. I can't remember all the Japanese terminology, but we're kind of going for a more authentic form factor. And there's Riggs. He's playing with his bone on his pad. Also, because we've got new designs, our new ability to have blades cut out, I have been toying with this, what I'm going to call this fencing sword. That's kind of just for me. And then these Mega Imambas, I'll probably add to this batch, go ahead and grind them and get them ready. Maybe along with the next tomahawks, which should get machined next week at the CNC shop. Going back to the grinding room, the phase converter's on, but I've got a handful of the factory second tomahawks in progress for a couple of guys waiting for those. And those will just have a few more grinding operations and some deburring, and they'll be ready to heat treat. Then I've got big knives, little knives, daggers. I might hold off on these. Maybe I'll grind 1 or 2 for this batch of heat treated stuff. I've got 3 more copies of the Arctodus sword, and then I've got little javelina knives in Tonto point and in Hawkbill point. I got Direwolf big knives. I've got Murder 2 swords with 2 different grind profiles, and then I've got the Kodiaks with the hook back and regular Kodiaks. I think I have just a handful of those right now. Where'd they go? Oh, there they are. So I got 2 stacks of Kodiaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 high. 7 Kodiaks of each of those styles. They'll be coming up. And then I also have the 5160 Kodiaks, which my heat treater is going to have a go at, and it may or may not work out. But that's all stuff that's coming up real soon. I'm going to finish up all this grinding work hopefully next week, and then we'll have things going to heat treat, and then of course new blades being blanked out on the water jet cutter over in Burlington. Hope you enjoyed the update. Next week I will be pretty much using this guy all week long, so it'll be a real test of its capacity for doing all the plunge cut, ricasso I guess to call it, cleanup. And that's all I have to say. I wish you a happy March, and I guess the St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Don't get too drunk.